Your dog has a file on your best friend, on your sister, on your neighbor, on the person who comes to fix things in your house, on everyone who has been in your life long enough for your dog to watch them more than once. Not a conscious file, not a judgment, something more specific than that. A behavioral record, a set of observations that your dog has been updating quietly and continuously every time that person walks through your door. And the criteria your dog uses to evaluate people is not what most people assume. It's not whether someone is kind to them, not whether someone brings treats or speaks in the right tone of voice. What your dog is actually tracking, and what the science of the last 10 years has confirmed, is something considerably more interesting. And it explains why your dog, who greets almost everyone warmly, will occasionally decide with complete certainty that someone specific is not to be trusted. Not based on how that person treats them, based on how that person treats you. We're going to come back to that. But first, I need to show you the machinery behind this. Because it's not instinct. It's not a sixth sense. It's a system. One that's been running since the moment your dog first met someone new. And once you understand how it works, the way you watch your dog meet people will change completely.
Think about the last time your dog met someone new. In the first 2 or 3 seconds, before you'd finished saying hello, your dog had already opened the file and started writing. Here's what was actually running. Channel 1, body language. Not the person's face, their whole body. The way their weight shifted as they walked in. Whether their hands were loose or held tight. Whether they moved toward your dog in a curved, non-threatening arc or directly. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to motion patterns. A person carrying tension in their body, even tension that has nothing to do with the dog, registers as a different category of person than someone who is genuinely relaxed. Your dog cataloged that in less than a second. Channel 2, scent. A dog's nose can detect volatile organic compounds that humans produce when they're anxious, angry, or afraid. These aren't subtle differences. They're chemical signatures that your dog reads the way you read a facial expression, immediately, involuntarily, and with high confidence. The person who seems calm to you may be sending a completely different signal to your dog's nose. The person who seems nervous might be nervous about something that has nothing to do with your household, but your dog doesn't know that yet. That's what the file is for. Channel 3, social observation. This is the channel most people miss entirely. Your dog has been studying you for years, your baseline, the specific quality of your voice when you're relaxed, the way your body moves when you feel safe. When someone enters and that baseline shifts, even slightly, your dog registers the disruption as information. They're not just assessing the stranger, they're reading the interaction between you and the stranger. Because how you respond to a person tells your dog something about that person that nothing else can. 3 channels, first 3 seconds, running simultaneously. And what's interesting is that none of these channels alone is particularly accurate. But running together, they create something that looks, from the outside, like your dog just knows. They don't just know, they're working. But here's the part that changes everything. Once your dog has opened that file, they don't close it when the person leaves.
In 2015, a researcher named Akiko Takaoka at Kyoto University ran an experiment that I keep coming back to. A dog is in a room with 2 containers. Takaoka points at one. There's food inside. Dog runs, finds it. Good. Second round, she points at the other container. Dog runs, empty. She has now lied to the dog in the only language the dog understands, gesture. Third round, she points at a container that does have food inside. The dog looks at her, looks at the container, and stays put. Not confused, not distracted. The dog has made a decision about this specific person. And here's the detail that elevates this from interesting to genuinely important. In the next experiment, Takaoka brought in a new person for round 3. Different human, same setup. The dogs followed immediately. They hadn't become suspicious of pointing. They hadn't become generally wary. They had filed a specific complaint against one specific individual. And when that individual was replaced, the file didn't transfer. Takaoka described this, and I love her phrasing, as dogs rapidly devaluing the reliability of a human. John Bradshaw at the University of Bristol noted something worth sitting with. Dogs don't just find inconsistency confusing, it stresses them. When someone behaves unpredictably, it's not a cognitive puzzle for your dog. It's a physiological event. The body responds. And this is the part of the file that matters most. Your dog isn't judging that person morally. They're protecting themselves from chaos. They're not asking, is this person bad? They're asking, is this person safe to predict? Those are different questions, and your dog asks the second one every time, about everyone.
Now here is where the file gets a section I didn't expect when I first read this research. A different team at Kyoto, led by Hitomi Chijiwa, ran a study the same year. A dog watches their owner try to open a container and ask a nearby stranger for help. In one version of the experiment, the stranger helps. In another, the stranger deliberately turns away, refuses, looks at the floor. A third person sits nearby, neutral throughout. After the interaction, the stranger and the neutral person both offer the dog a treat. When the stranger had helped the owner, the dogs accepted treats from both people. No preference, fine. But when the stranger had refused to help, the dog walked past the offered treat, past food, and went to the neutral stranger instead. I want to make sure that lands correctly. The stranger had not touched the dog, had not threatened the dog, had not taken anything from the dog. They had refused to help the dog's person in a situation with no direct consequence to the dog. And the dog turned down a free treat because of it. The researchers called this third-party affective evaluation, tracking kindness toward others, not just toward yourself. It had never been documented in a non-primate species before. And then there's the detail that genuinely surprised me. The dogs didn't reward helpfulness. The helpful stranger got no bonus, no preference, treated like the neutral person. The unhelpful one got shunned. Researchers called it a negativity bias. Your dog weights bad behavior more heavily than good behavior, which makes complete evolutionary sense. Knowing who to avoid keeps you alive. Knowing who to thank is a luxury. Your dog doesn't care who's generous, but they are keeping a very specific record of who refused to help you. And they don't forget. There's one more entry in the file, and this one is the one I find hardest to sit with. A team at the University of Vienna, led by Ludwig Huber, ran a study with 260 dogs. The setup: a person hides a treat in one of two buckets. A second person moves the treat to the other bucket. In one condition, the first person watched the switch happen. They know where the treat is now. In another condition, the first person had left the room during the switch. They genuinely don't know. Then the first person comes back and points at the original bucket, the empty one. The pointing is identical in both cases. Wrong bucket, wrong instruction. But here's what happened. When the person had seen the switch, when they were pointing to the wrong bucket on purpose, dogs were significantly more likely to ignore them and go to the correct bucket on their own. When the person had genuinely missed the switch, when they were wrong but not lying, the dogs followed more often. They gave the benefit of the doubt. The same wrong instruction, treated differently based on whether the person could have known better.
The implication is that dogs may not just be tracking what people do, they may be tracking
why. Not just this person pointed wrong, but this person pointed wrong and they knew it. Whether that rises to the level of what we'd call understanding intent, the science is careful here, and so should we be. But the behavioral distinction is real. 260 dogs documented. The study also found something that made me laugh. Breed mattered. Retrievers, border collies, breeds historically selected for cooperative work with humans, were better at detecting the deception. Terriers, bred for independent work, making their own decisions, going down holes without asking permission, behaved more like human toddlers. They followed the liar more often. If your terrier trusts everyone, that's not gullibility. That's 300 years of breeding saying, I'll check the bucket myself. I don't need your help. So the file has more in it than we thought. Reliability, loyalty to your person, and potentially intent. 3 categories, constantly updated, never fully closed. Here is where I keep the promise I always make on this channel. In 2025, a researcher named Hoi Lam Jim, also at Kyoto, published a study that should have confirmed everything I just told you. 40 dogs watched humans act either generously or selfishly with food toward another dog. Then the dogs got to choose who to approach. The result? Nothing. No preference. Not for the generous person, not against the selfish one. Jim herself was surprised. She noted that reputation formation in dogs may be more complex than previously thought. She didn't dismiss the earlier findings, but she was careful. And so should I be. So what do we do with that? Here's my read on the collected evidence. And I want to be clear, this is interpretation, not conclusion. The studies that do show dogs evaluating people tend to involve scenarios where the dog's relationship with their owner is directly implicated. The Chijiwa study worked because someone wronged the dog's person. The Takaoka study worked because someone lied to the dog directly. When the scenario is more abstract, watching a stranger be unkind to a dog the test subject doesn't know, the signal may not be strong enough to trigger the evaluation.
Which means your dog probably isn't running background checks on strangers at the park. But in your home, with your people, when the social dynamics actually matter to them, the science on that is not ambiguous. Now, I want to speak directly to some of you, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking, my dog loves everyone. My dog has never met a person they didn't immediately try to climb. That doesn't mean your dog can't do this. The dogs in these studies started from a position of trust. That's the baseline. It took a specific, observable violation to trigger the evaluation. Your dog being friendly isn't a failure to detect bad people. It means nobody has given them a reason to update the file yet. And honestly, that probably says more about the people in your life than it does about your dog. But if your dog is the dog who greets everyone, who has never met a stranger, and then one day quietly, without drama, without barking, simply refuses to go near someone, pay attention. That is not random. That is a dog who has been trusting everyone until this specific moment. And something in the file just changed. Let me take you back to Kyoto. A researcher points at a container. The dog looks at her, looks at the container, and stays exactly where it is.
When I first read about that experiment, I thought it was a study about lying, about whether dogs can spot a liar. It is that, but I think it's also something else. That dog isn't staying still because it's suspicious. It's staying still because it remembers. It took one experience, a single broken gesture, and used it to make a decision about the future. Your dog is doing this all the time. Not psychically, not magically.
through a system that has been refined over 15,000 years of living beside people who sometimes lie, sometimes help, sometimes turn away. Your dog learned a long time ago that humans are complicated, and instead of giving up on us, they built the machinery to sort through that complexity. Every time your dog pauses, just for a second, before deciding how to feel about someone, that's not instinct. That's 15,000 years of paying attention. Tell me in the comments, has your dog ever decided they didn't like someone? And did you eventually find out they were right? I read all of them.